Left 4 Dead 2 Versus. It's a pretty rough world out there with undead dangers around every corner. Made worse by, well, shall we say, a rather unforgiving community that doesn't cater well for new players. So with this guide, I aim to give you the knowledge to turn you into a competent Left 4 Dead player that'll be an invaluable member of any survivor team. So, let's get on with it. Rule number 1. Cardio. Oh no wait, that's something else. Rule number 1. Stay together. Left 4 Dead is very much a team game, more so than most games out there. It relies on good teamwork, and try-hard lone wolves won't be much use in this apocalypse. So if you're only ever really looking out for number 1, you're not really playing Left 4 Dead very well. This is a team game that requires you to work with your team and stay together with them. Because one of the biggest goals of being a survivor is quite simply avoiding damage, not letting yourself or your teammates take too much damage. This means you need to work together to protect each other to have the best chance of survival. Now I think most of this stuff in this video is going to be best illustrated with examples, so let's get on to a few of those. So here we see me, Nick and Rochelle all traveling together. Ellis over here has decided to go a different way to the rest of us for no real reason at all, separating himself and becoming a big target. And guess what, when the infected attack all together, as a good infected team should, he's left all by himself being jockeyed to high heaven, while the rest of us are able to stay nearby and support each other, minimizing the damage we take. He's going to lose all of his health bar and get incapacitated. He's not only created the damage on himself, but also an inconvenience and damage for us, because he's not there to protect us either. On this level, it's not a huge deal because this is quite a short level anyway, but in general, that's not a good thing to separate yourself from the rest of the team. It only takes 5 or 10 seconds for everything to go wrong, for you to be isolated because you chose to go a different way, and needless damage occurs. So stay together by taking the same route as everybody else. Now, while we need to move quickly in Left 4 Dead, you have to be aware of where your team is, and if you're getting too far ahead of them, because they may not be able to move as quickly as you. Exhibit A, Rochelle, running on ahead of the team with none of us nearby. Not checking or listening to the commotion that's going on. Someone's been charged, there's a horde coming, we need some help. Rochelle at this point should be able to see that she's isolated and in danger. But she's got herself jockeyed and off the edge she goes. I can't even go and save her at this point because if I do, I'll probably be pulled off the edge as well. So I have to go with the rest of the team, which is naturally making things very risky and dangerous for all of us. So be careful not to run too far ahead of the rest of your team, lest you isolate yourself and become a target. And it works the other way as well. Be careful not to get too far ahead of the rest of your team, and also be careful not to fall too far behind, because again, you become isolated, you become a target, and the next thing you know, you're flying out of a window. So have some awareness of your own positioning. Are you too far ahead? Are you too far behind? Do you have line of sight with your allies is the biggest question. As long as you've got that, you'll be able to protect them and they'll be able to protect you. And maintain this level of stay together protection until the very end of the map. That means don't get tunnel vision and run into the safe room like a wimp. Case in point, these two bagger clowns that are sitting pretty in the safe room with their full health bars and medkits, while I get mauled outside trying to save our teammate. There was no point being in the safe room at this point, although it looked like we were gonna get in there just fine. You never know. Infected get desperate and they'll try anything, and sometimes it works. Granted, this guy that's got downed was typing a message, which is why he stopped and we should have been in there fine, but those two had plenty of time to see what was going on and to come out and help, which they eventually have done and we're okay. But it was needless. That guy shouldn't have even gone down. He should have been freed from the smoker pretty quick, but I couldn't do it alone. Similarly, while you need to be careful of your own positioning not to fall too far behind or too far ahead, the best players will notice when one of their teammates has isolated themselves and are in pretty big danger of being grabbed, so they'll go to try and find them so they're not so isolated, or at least get some line of sight. Here I'm going to grab this guy who seems a little bit lost, seems like a new player. I'm assuming I can get a little bit of damage on him before they come and save him, but no, they don't care. They're just going to leave him for dead. It would take them all of 10 or 15 seconds to come over here and save him, but no. And while there is blame to place on this guy for falling behind, there's bigger blame to place on his teammates for simply not waiting and covering him. And that's one of the biggest things a good player does. They wait and they cover their teammates all the time, especially at death spots, those points in every campaign where once you jump down as a survivor, you can't get back up. and if someone gets downed when there's no one else up there, they're done for. And this spot on the dead center campaign is one I'm always wary of, and I stand on this little bit of rail so it's a little bit harder for anyone to grab me if they should try, and I can cover my teammates in case anything tries to get them. And I don't jump down until the last man is jumped down as well. So while you're always looking forward, turn around once in a while and see where your teammates are. See if they need cover, see if they need help, because it could just save the day or at least save some damage. Sometimes people have fallen behind because they're being slow, but sometimes it's also not their fault, and maybe a couple of zombies have slowed them down and they can't quite get away. They'll need your help. And you can see this guy here doing exactly what I'm talking about. He's waiting for me, he doesn't drop down until I drop down. Good teammates provide good cover. With all that being said, the game is called Left 4 Dead, right? And there is a time and a place where you do need to abandon your teammates and leave them for dead. The only time this is okay is when everything is going to shit and there's no chance of survival and you need to run for points, as we call it. Left 4 Dead Versus is all about gaining points to beat the other team at the end of the campaign. Whoever gets more points wins. So at this point in this Dark Carnival campaign, if I try to go and revive my teammates and get them up now, while there's an event going on, there's zombies all over the place, there's a tank chasing me, there's zero chance of me doing that. I'm going to get murdered. So I'm better off just running for the hills, trying to get as many points as I can by moving through the level. Even if it's only one person, it won't get a ton of extra points, but it'll get something, and that little something could make a difference. So it's okay to run for points when there's really no hope, but otherwise you should be staying together with your teammates so that you can cover them and so that they can cover you, which minimizes damage for everybody, increasing your chances of surviving the level. If you want to be a decent Left 4 Dead teammate, worry just as much about your teammates' health as you do your own. Rule number 2. Move fast. Did you know playing Left 4 Dead Survivors is actually a race against the clock, but not in the traditional sense. The footage you're seeing in the background is me running the first stage of the No Mercy campaign in single player, just running from the start to the safe room as quick as I can with no real delays. I'm not stopping to look around, we're not getting slowed down by the special infected, just running from A to B. I want to see how long it takes. I'm just going to constantly push forward, shoot zombies as I pass them when I have to, but otherwise I'm just going to keep forward momentum going the whole time. Overall, this first stage can be done in 1 minute, if you keep moving forward, non-stop, with no delays. Of course, this isn't necessarily realistic to a versus game, but you get the idea here. We can run from A to B, complete this level in a minute. Now I'm going to do the same thing again, just like I did before, except I'm going to take a look around and take my time here. See what useful stuff I can find. Might find a Molotov, might find some pills, might find a cool melee weapon. Could be something useful around, so I need to search everywhere. So that's exactly what I'm going to do. But what's really going on here? Well, I'm taking longer to get through the level. Slow and steady wins the race, right? What's wrong with being cautious and careful as you move through a level and looking to find all stuff that might be useful? Well, this run is going to take me about 2 minutes. So that's twice as long as the 1 minute run I just did when I didn't stop and look around. The problem with this extra time that I'm taking to get through the level is all to do with the special infected. Every special infected life that the opposing team gets is potential damage against the survivor team. Now, when we kill a special infected, they get a respawn timer till their next life, right? This is normally 25 to 30 seconds on a 4-player infected team. If there's less human players on the team, the respawn times will be less. But let's say we're at the max time, which is 25 to 30 seconds. Now, on that quick 1 minute run we did just now, we can only get 2 lots of 30 seconds in 1 minute, obviously. So that means 2 lives per player times 4 gives us 8 lives, assuming that they spawned straight away, which they wouldn't, realistically. But that's the maximum number of lives the infected will get if we're only in the map for 1 minute. If we're in the map for 2 minutes, they'll get 4 lives each, which will mean 16 infected lives. You see where this is going? If they're in the map for 5 minutes, they'll get 10 lives each. So that's 40 special infected that you'll have to deal with through the level. So the point here is the longer you take to get through the level, the more special infected lives you give your enemies, which gives them more potential to damage you, hurt you, and basically run you out of healing items so you can't go on. The clock that we're racing against is the special infected respawn timers. The longer you're dawdling around the map or running off to check every single room and corner to find stuff, it's time that you're giving the special infected to respawn and come and get you again. A good team keeps moving forward, keeps blasting common infected as they see them, and they deal with the special infected threats as they go. And there is nothing wrong with stopping occasionally to check in on known loot spots to see if there's anything useful there. As long as it doesn't slow you down too much, there's not really a problem. Occasionally though, as you can see here, we've been moving fast, but now we've been boomed on, someone's been charged, we're in a bit of trouble. I'm going to move down the end here to stop any special infected spawning on this corner, and I'll just cover my team from here while they get the guy who's been downed up. We've been slowed down now, we're giving the enemies some respawn time, but it's inevitable. It's going to happen from time to time on every run, and that's fine. You just got to stick together to get the person up and to get everyone moving again, so we can all run at the same pace, keep the same rolling speed that we had before. So it's perfectly fine if you have stops and starts, but for the most part you just always need to be moving forward, even if you get boomed on. A good team that's working together shouldn't be slowed down too much by a boom. Even though they'll have zombies all over them, they'll be able to cover each other, keep shooting all the zombies so that they don't really slow anyone down, and you can keep the pace of moving through the map. Of course though, this is easier said than done, especially when you're against a good infected team that makes a lot of plays to slow you down, but you just got to keep churning forward all the time. You may also from time to time have people tell you to stop shopping, which means stop deviating from the main path of the map to look in every corner to find stuff to grab. If you do go shopping too often, you'll be slowing the team down, giving the infected more lives, and ultimately hurting your chances. There's nothing wrong with stopping in little places that are along the way, like I said earlier, or if you're in really dire need of something like a Molotov for a tank or health for someone who's about to die, then it may be worth trying to check the extra spots for the things you might need. Just always keep in the back of your mind that the clock is ticking down on those infected timers, and wasting 5 or 10 seconds every now and again might not seem like a lot, but it does add up. So remember to stay together and move fast with your team. Rule number 3. Stay alert. Okay, I want you to pay attention to this clip. I'm going to shut up, I'm going to turn the volume up, watch the clip and see what you notice. It'll be better if you have a headset on though. Here we go.
Smoker. He's gonna have to use that tongue to sharpen it.
Hopefully with all of that, you were paying attention most importantly to the sounds, the noises that were going on around, and most notably that were made by the special infected. Here we go again. The first noise we hear, that giggle of the jockey, that's telling us that a jockey has just spawned in. That's information I can use.
Smoker.
Through that bit we could hear more jockey sounds and the smoker sound, as well as Francis saying smoker. Did you catch that one? That was a little bit tougher to hear. Here it is again.
Smoker. He's gonna have to use that.
Did you hear the boomer in there? A boomer just spawned in. That kind of that was under the jockey. And there was a smoker sound as well. Lo and behold, there was a boomer and you heard a charger spawn in there as well. Did you hear the smoker tongue attack sound there? That kind of whoosh. I'm doing a terrible job of impersonating these noises, but you get the idea. That tells me that a smoker has just attacked somebody and may have grabbed one of my teammates. I turn around to check and... And the last noise we hear there, the charger attack sound, albeit a little bit cut off. So there are all these different noises for all the different kinds of special infected that they make at different times, and these are important information to help us be ready for their attacks, and more importantly, for us to try and stop them. Each special infected will have different noises to indicate to the survivors what its actions are. For example, that's one of the charger spawn-in noises. Now we know it's spawned. That's the charger charge sound. Now we know it's attacked. And that slamming sound is the charger's grabbed noise. It tells everyone that someone's been grabbed and is being smashed. So all these things indicate to the survivors what's happening around them. If you want to be a top-notch Left 4 Dead player, you've got to learn these noises and hear where they're coming from, so you can identify where the special infected are and take them out before they can cause any problems. All special infected have different noises for when they spawn in, when they're just running and moving around the map, when they target somebody and get line of sight with their crosshair over a survivor, when they try to attack and while they're actively attacking by a grabbed animation. All these things make different noises, with a few exceptions, like the hunter that doesn't make noise when it spawns in. But otherwise, all information is there to help you identify where the special infected are and to deal with them. So if you're new to the game, start to listen out for these sounds and start to try to identify them when you're playing as infected as well, because that can be good practice. Like many shooter games, Left 4 Dead is best played with a headset so you can identify direction of where these things are coming from. So the first part of staying alert is to use your ears and to listen out for all the special infected, because there's a lot of information there to make use of. The next big part of staying alert is map knowledge, which is something that's only really acquired over time and with experience, or through someone telling you about things to watch out for. What you're seeing here is a standoff between two teams who have map knowledge of what's going to happen at this part of the map. This is the first stage of No Mercy early on, and this narrow corridor is a great spot for a charger spitter combo, as it's so narrow that the survivors won't be able to get out of the way of the charge, and then the spitter will spit on them and anyone else who gets knocked down and do a ton of damage. They're expecting that and they're trying to kill one of us, the charger or the spitter, to stop that from happening, because they know it can be very dangerous. So it's a stalemate waiting for one of us to act. In this case, a cheeky survivor sneaks past, I'm forced to charge in, I knock one down a little bit, some spit comes in, does a little bit of damage, but they've avoided it pretty well. But the map knowledge from both teams was there, and it was a fight to see who could get the better outcome. They won this round, but there's plenty more of these spots in all the maps to try and nail these kind of things. Here's another one at the start of Dead Center. You see these two guys have clocked me, but they've only got melee weapons so they can't do anything about me. This is a popular spot to try and charge people out the window just before the elevator, and most people that know about it will be very cautious when crossing this little lane. But I'm waiting patiently because I know there's only 3 of them there, one more's coming. I'm going to take a chance that he's going to walk into my path and, well, it's bye-bye ASAP Epstein. So there's really 3 main areas of maps to be aware of. Number 1, group attack spots. Places like we saw with the charger and spitter corridor, or places with car alarms, areas with witches. These are places that special infected will wait to all spawn together and attack you at these points to try and make use of what's there. So we need to be alert of when the infected are going to try and do that. The other places is insta-kill spots like the windows I keep charging people out of, or these kind of death drops where you can't get back up once you've dropped down, so you need to be waiting and staying alert for any teammates that may be behind. And teammates being behind is really what the third section of Stay Alert is all about. Keeping an eye out for your teammates, tying in to the stay together rule we had at the start. It's just that same thing of turning around every now and again and checking where your friends are and checking if they need help. And not running off to the safe room as soon as you get near it and forgetting about your teammates as half of this team seems to be doing. It's such a simple thing to just turn around every now and again to see what's going on. Like I keep saying, if you want to be a good teammate, you've got to look out for your bros and your sisters. If you can get a team of 4 players all doing this, all looking out for each other all of the time, you can be damn near unstoppable. So pay attention, stay alert to when your teammates need your help. And they will need your help, just as you will need theirs. It's a team game, stick with the team, because that's how you win, my friends. Teamwork. Rule number 4. Don't waste resources. There's a whole bunch of consumable and throwable items out there to aid you on your journey. We need to be sure not to waste them so that we have them when we need them. So let's go through all the important items, beginning with your good old medkit, the thing that keeps you alive through the level. A mistake that a lot of newer players make is that they use it too early, and then later in the level they'll find themselves struggling. There's 2 things to think about before you use your medkit. The first one is, how is my team doing? Just because you're in red health doesn't mean you need to heal. It depends how the rest of your team are. As we can see, Rochelle here is in red health and is healing, but there's really no need to yet. The rest of the team is in green health, so if she goes down, we'll likely be able to pick her up just fine. So pay attention to how your team health is in deciding when you need to heal. The other factor in deciding when to heal is how far into the level you are. If it's near the start like we are here, it makes it much harder as you get towards the end of the level to keep going because you didn't have that med kit maybe halfway through to boost you back up. Here you can see, if we look at the team health, I'm in low health, one of my teammates is in low health, another one's not far off at half health but it's pilled up, so he's going to come down to low health. This is a good time to heal, because otherwise there's risk of a bunch of us going down all at once and then we're in trouble. At this point on this map, it's a little bit early to be healing for my liking, but because of everyone being in low health, it's a bit of a risk not to heal up. So at least one or maybe two people needs to heal up. Doesn't mean that everybody needs to heal when they're in low health. As long as you've got 2 or 3 people in good health, you're pretty much okay. Here we're looking a little bit rough. 2 of us on low health, 1 of us on half health. So it seems a good time to heal up. And I'm okay with being red and being a little bit slower than everyone else. I'm going to need some help from my team to watch out for me to make sure I don't fall behind because I can't run as quickly as they can. But there's nothing wrong with being in red health. You can go down twice before you go to black and white, which means you'll die if you go down a 3rd time. So you can go down once and then heal up. That's okay too. Let yourself go down. Nothing wrong with being down as long as the rest of the team is okay. And when you get revived, you get a little bit more of a health bar. So it's kind of a free health bar. So you can use up those downs as health if you want to. And this brings us nicely to our next item, which ties into medkits: pills. These are a great way to make your medkit last longer.
Good to go.
As you can see here, I've just been downed. We fought a tank. I've lost all of my health. I could use my medkit here, but it would be a pretty bad idea because this is early in the level and 2 of my team are okay and the other one's not too bad. Plus, we have 2 lots of pills. These will give you 50 health, but it will degrade over time, so it's not a permanent boost. So when you see somebody on your team with pills and you don't want to use your medkit yet, and they look okay and don't need the pills themselves, you can ask them for the pills. Or hopefully, if they're a decent player, they'll give you the pills without you even having to ask. Like this guy, he's going to need a little bit of a prompt with a shove, but he knows and he gives me the pills to help me out. And I don't need to waste my medkit this early in the level. I can keep it going for longer. And that's primarily the use of pills, to prolong the life of your medkit, so you don't have to use it until absolutely necessary. There are other things you can use pills for, like trying to escape a tank. If you can't run at full speed, the tank will get you, so you need those pills to bring your health up to allow you to run faster. Or of course, if you've used up your medkit already and you're low on health, the pills are a good way to bring you up. But most of all, when you get pills, realize that they are not your pills. They are the team pills. When somebody else needs those pills to stop them having to use their medkit so early, give them the pills. Teamwork, man. Teamwork. Next, another incredibly important item, the Molotov. These things are key for taking down bosses and some area denial. It's always a good idea to have at least 1 Molotov on the team at all times, if you haven't had a tank yet, or you suspect a tank may be coming in that level. It's used to light the tank on fire, which will permanently put him on fire and constantly burn away his health, meaning we can just run away from him and he will die from the fire eventually. But of course we do want to shoot him to make him die faster. So always make sure you've got 1 Molotov to save for a tank. If you've got some spare, you can use them for other things, like trying to burn away hordes that may be coming after you from a certain direction, or for creating kind of choke points. Or you may see them used to try and stop special infected spawning in certain areas. Mostly though, you'll want to save them for tanks, and that is the real important use of them. Everything else is just wherever they may be useful. Just be careful not to burn yourself and your team to death though. Next, another very important tool, the pipe bomb. These are great for clearing areas where there may be a lot of zombies and it may be a little bit annoying to try and move through. However, this may not be the best use of them, if you've only got the one anyway. Because pipe bombs are a fantastic counter to boomers. When somebody gets boomed on and a horde comes, they're going to be all over the people that have been boomed on. The pipe bomb though attracts the horde to it, blows most of it up, and that boom won't be so effective. Booms can be the one thing that slow a team down a lot and can potentially win games, especially if there's a tank. So having 1 single pipe bomb on hand for when people get boomed is always a good plan. Next, the bile bomb. Similar to the pipe bomb, but you have to be a little bit more careful with these.
Bile bomb incoming.
Much like the pipe bomb, they're great for clearing areas as they will attract all the common infected, round them all up and make it much easier to move through an area. However, be wary of using bile bombs on tanks. It might seem like a good idea to blind the tank and to make all the common infected attack it, but if there's no common infected around, it will spawn a horde to come and attack. And when that boomer bile effect runs out on the tank, guess where the rest of those zombies that are still alive are going? After you. So you essentially spawn a horde on yourself, especially if the tank decides not to kill any. If you're overrun with zombies already though and there's a tank, it could be an idea to try and use it on him to clear all the infected away from you for a while. Also, don't use bile bombs when your team has been boomed on by an actual boomer, because it won't do anything until the actual boomer bile effect has run out. Now for another item that I think a lot of players misuse, the adrenaline shot. I see a lot of people who use it like it's pills to give themselves a temporary health boost, which degrades very quickly and isn't much use for that purpose. The adrenaline shot should be seen as more of an emergency item when you really need a boost to get certain things done. The first thing it does is increase your foot speed, which is great for moving through certain areas of the map quickly and for outrunning tanks, but what it also does, which you might not notice, is that it stops you getting slowed down by common infected, so when they hit you, normally you'd get stopped and have to get rid of them first, but with this you'll just shrug them off and keep moving forward. Very useful in certain maps and certain areas. The other thing it does for you is just makes you do everything quicker. If you try to revive someone, it'll do it quickly. If you try to heal yourself or heal somebody else with your medkit, you'll do it way faster than you normally would. It speeds up some vital processes, which can be key and very powerful in the right moments. So save your adrenaline shots for when you need them, for when emergencies happen, for when somebody goes down all of a sudden, or you need to get away. You can use it for a health boost if you really need to, if you have no other choice. But it's a small health boost that doesn't last very long, so isn't great for that purpose. And the last thing we have is the defibrillator, which arguably is only really best taken if you have space in the team. Don't throw away a medkit for a defib. Maybe if somebody's low on health you could use up your medkit to take the defib if you really want. So don't be wasteful with your resources. Think about what you're doing with them and what they may be useful for as you go through the level. For example, don't use the last Molotov if you haven't had the tank yet and there might be one on the level. Don't use pills on yourself if you've got 3/4 of your health and somebody else is struggling with just 1/4 of theirs. Give the pills to them. Good use of resources is a trademark of any good team. Rule number 5. Beware of bosses. Tanks and witches are one of the leading causes of your run coming to an end. No matter how well you've been playing the rest of the level, if you play badly when the tank or the witch comes along, you're gonna be in trouble. The biggest mistake that newbie teams seem to make is that they try to fight the tank wherever it comes along, whether that be in small and narrow corridors and tunnels, or small rooms with no room to move. You need space to fight the tank, and as such you need to find it, even if that means running back through the level. As you can see here, we're in a small tiny room, the tank music started playing. Obviously it would be absolutely ridiculous to try and fight a tank in even a fairly large room when you've got all this space just here outside. Even if this was further away and took us 15 or 20 or 30 seconds to get back to it, it would still probably be worthwhile falling back to the big open space, because tanks can't do scheiße in big open spaces. At least if everyone's healthy and running at full speed and there's no horde around, as you're about to see. And we're going to wait for the tank to come to us. Forget the moving fast, forget the moving forward. Now we don't mind staying and hanging around, we're waiting for this tank to come and get us. If a player controlled tank doesn't attack, it'll pass over to another player, and if that player doesn't attack, it'll pass over to the AI, who will just mindlessly charge in and probably not do very well. The tank should really be waiting for some of his infected buddies to help him out, but if they charge in like this, they're pretty much done for. This tank is going to do absolutely nothing. He can't catch anyone because we've got loads of health, we've got loads of space to move. He's just going to get plastered. We've all got line of sight on him. We're going to blast him with bullets. He's going down quick time, did absolutely nothing. The only hope the tank would have in this situation is to wait for his special infected, particularly a boomer, to bring a horde along and try and help him out. And of course, be aware of things that the tank can smash around, like cars and bins and logs, because those will instantly down you if they touch you. So sometimes when you fall back to an area, you want to try and do it to one without all those things that might take you out if they touch you. So be smart with tanks and fall back to open spaces, and try to be careful of boomers and take them out quickly before they get you as much as you can. If you see somebody type the word back in chat when tank music starts, it means they want to fall back to the best open space as quickly as possible. Tanks will be as easy or as hard as you make them. Now when it comes to witches, these are much easier to deal with and often are just completely avoidable. If you can run around a witch without ever going near her at all, do it. Don't take her out for the sake of it, there's no need. And do be careful of infected trying to bait you and bring you near the witch to set her off, as I am doing here to this poor fella. And as you probably learned by now, if you disturb the witch and she comes after you and touches you, you're going down. And if all the special infected attack at the same time, that can be game over. So avoid the witch at all costs if you can, and be careful of the special infected trying to bait you into attacking her or simply pulling you into her. Like here, this team could easily walk around this witch, but they're not, and they're aggroing her, and if a special infected gives her a slap while she's slightly aggroed, she will go off instantly. So that can be a cheeky way for the special infected to set off the witch and put a survivor on their ass. So watch out for that as well. Sometimes though, a witch will be unavoidable. She'll be sat in your path and you will have to go through her. The best way we can deal with this is with someone crowning the witch, blowing her head off, essentially, in one shot before she can do anything. Here I'm going to try it, but this special infected comes along. She starts to get aggroed, so I'm going to fall back and wait for her to calm down, and then we got to go for it. This is how we crown a witch. First thing we're going to need though is a shotgun. Of any kind, as long as it's a shotgun, it'll work. The next thing you're going to need is balls or ovaries of steel, because this shit's about to get spooky. And the final thing you're going to need is the desire to crush your enemies, which resides in your mind. If you've got all three of these things, you're ready to crown the witch, my friend. All you need to do is charge up to her and crouch in front of her preferably. We're then looking to get the entirety of the crosshair kind of filled with her body. So as long as every part of your crosshair is touching some part of the witch and she's covering everything in between, you'll land every single shot from the gun into her and she will be instantly killed. I'm using the chrome shotgun here, which has quite a small crosshair, which makes it easier to do this, but other shotguns don't have this luxury. If you get an automatic shotgun, it's even easier because you can blast the first shot, and even if you mess it up, you can blast the second one in quick enough to finish her off. And of course, expect the special infected to try and make you mess it up. Learning to crown the witch is an essential skill of any good player, so just go for it. I know it seems scary and you might mess it up, but whatever. If you really want to practice, you can go to single player on the first stage of No Mercy, and there's usually a witch around there somewhere, so you can have a few practice runs if you really want to. If nobody has a shotgun though, or nobody's stepping up, there is a couple of other options like throwing a Molotov and then running away while the rest of your team blast her because she'll target whoever disturbed her, or the same thing but shooting her and running away and the rest of the team blast her. So beware of bosses, prepare accordingly, and play smart. So there you go, the 5 rules of Left 4 Dead 2. Stay together, move fast, stay alert, don't waste resources, and beware of bosses. I've been playing Left 4 Dead since the first game released over 10 years ago, and these rules have been working pretty well for me. Although there is still a lot to be said, but those are different stories for different days, as this video is already half an hour long, and you probably want to go and play some Left 4 Dead. If you're looking for a more friendly community to play Left 4 Dead with than the general community of Left 4 Dead, then check out my Discord. Link is in the description. We got a lot of new players that are looking to learn and get better in an environment that welcomes it, not one where you get called a noob and kicked out because you made one mistake. If you're a toxic shit talker, you will not be welcomed in my Discord and you won't last very long either. If you're a decent friendly human being though that wants to learn, boogie on down. I also play on stream with the community, so if you want to check that out, Twitch link in the description as well. I hope you've enjoyed this. Thanks for watching. I will see you in the future.